Hello, fans out there that you're listening to DKRetro. This is Joseph Knight hosting with my partner here, who also runs Hardcore Wrestling Radio, Rick Head. Rick, great to have you with. We got a different topic this time.
Yeah, we did. We just did the Star Wars: The Force Awakens, and now we're going to do a little bit more retro-ish. Back, it's an old TV series, Greatest American Hero. Joe, I remember growing up watching the series.
It was in a world filled growing up. This was actually 1970s. In a theme of the Super Friends, the Marvel characters. Superman just came out, the movie, the original, Christopher Reeve, just came out in the movies. I believe it was ABC wanted to do, and that was a network, folks. Back then we only had a few networks. They wanted a superhero-themed movie. The creator of it, Stephen Collins, wanted to create. They told him, "We want you to make a superhero film." He didn't know much about superheroes. Funny. He was more into cowboys and Indians and stuff growing up. But here's the thing, Rick, the premise. How can you go wrong? In the era of UFO enthusiasts, this is a show that's begging to be rebooted. With all the UFO hunters, UFO people running around, what if you happen to be driving in the desert, because this is where it all takes place, and a UFO comes down and hands you literally a super suit. Once you put the suit on, you basically become Superman. You're invulnerable, super speed, you have the ability to fly. And that was what happened with William Catton, the guy who plays Ralph Hinckley, the character. He was given this suit, loses the instruction book to it. Can you imagine aliens giving over? It's like we have a hard time reprogramming our VCRs at the time. Can you imagine what a suit would do?
Well, you know what? I think in that one case, you would really need to RTFM, which means read the fucking manual, and in his case, he was up Schitt's Creek without a paddle.
Absolutely, and throughout the whole series, it was basically him learning how to fly, do every other superhero ability. Now, fans, this may sound a little, corny-ish or whatever you want to call it, but the scenario is actually very good. And it plays on the what if. What if you were given this gift, the ability to help change the world for the good? How would you use that gift? And this was the premise throughout the Greatest American Hero. He would do little things from saving kids and to stopping missiles or fighting space monsters. It was a scenario that, what will happen, Rick, in the real world today? What if somebody was given this suit in a real world now, in a world where there's no Superman, no Batman, just normal people?
First off, I want to go back and look at the original series because it was corny. It was one of those things. It was tongue-in-cheek humor, but it was also in that time frame. It was fine. If you looked back at now, if nobody had ever seen the series and looked back, they'd be like, "What the fuck is this shit?" As far as a modern day situation, I don't know, because basically the guy was just a blue collar teacher who gets the suit, and if some blue collar person got the suit, who's to say that they're not going to use it for good instead of for their own personal uses?
Absolutely, and this is where, at the theme, and this was back in the era where it was more, everybody was more easy and I think more laid back than being politically correct. This is where he does his best to try to be good and try to do the right things and experiment with a suit. Yeah, let's go over Ralph Hinckley for a minute. You have his partner, who was an FBI agent or CIA person. I think it's FBI agent. Yes, Bill Maxwell, which is done by the actor Robert Cope. If you've seen the series, you know who I'm talking about. Rick, remember Bill Maxwell, Mr. Americana? He was the funniest guy that you can have as a sidekick.
Well, I remember him from the TV series. As far as anything else, I think I remember seeing him in a couple of modern day commercials, like maybe back in the 90s. Other than that, I know very little of the man.
He was a bona fide. He was more into westerns at the time. It was like 60s westerns, and when he got him, they gave him this a chance to be in this TV show. He was. It's hard to explain. You have to see it. It was such a riot. Here's this guy who's Mr. USA, fought in Vietnam and Korea. He was very Archie Bunkerish, guys. If you don't know who Archie Bunker is, go on YouTube and look it up. He was Mr. USA. He wanted to hit the commies and knock everybody out. You had these two come together to try to two different personalities trying to make the situation work, and that was the premise throughout the show. Rick, again, in the land of Batman and Superman, when we were growing up, the greatest American hero was a totally different hero.
And I think that's what they were looking for. I think, you have Batman, who's this dark character. Well, back then, he was just a rich guy in a funny looking suit. But he had more power abilities. He had more money. This guy, all he had was the suit, which had superpowers, which he had only a handful of them. And they made him fly, and he couldn't, get it done right. Like Superman, he's like a bullet. This guy was like all over the road, like under he was a DUI.
God forbid you happen to be in his way.
Yeah.
And what made it difficult also was that he hated the suit. He hated how it looked. So not only did he have to try to learn how to use this thing, but he didn't like how it was designed. So
yeah, it was anything but a fashion statement.
It was like going out in your pajamas, wearing a little cape that you can add on. But folks, it's the greatest American hero. It's a classic. If you're interested in seeing an alternative to Batman, Superman, Wolverine, Deadpool, while those movies and characters are great, give the greatest American hero a chance.
And I think honestly today's superhero fans would not get it. They would, again, like I said, growing up as a kid, I enjoyed it, but again, they didn't have all the superhero movies that they do today. It's literally a mainstream. Back then, like I said, it was a treat. Would I go back and watch it again today? Probably not.
Oh, actually, I sat down and watched it. But Rick, you know what? We're done with this. This is, again, for me, if we want to grade it from 1 to 5, I've got to give it a 5. I know that's pretty high for just a goofy superhero spoof. But again, this is what made TV in the 70s and 80s great. They were imaginative. They were top of their game. And they were not afraid to come up with new ideas. And the premise, again, a guy being given a powerful suit, what will you do with it? So I think that's the premise. Fans, check it out. You can probably see it on YouTube. Just look up The Greatest American Hero, and you can see the pilot, and you can go from there, judge. I got to give it a 5, Rick.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't give it a full 5. I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 5 if I really had to be honest. The only reason why is because around the same time they had the Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby, and for me that was a 5-star show. That was excellent retro, and it was very believable. Now the Greatest American Hero, again, it was tongue-in-cheek humor, so that's, like I said, I enjoyed it, but that's about it. It was okay. It was a TV show, nothing less, nothing more.
And you know what? You made a valid point. They're kind of in the same frame where what will happen if this happened in the real world. Maybe next time we can do the Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. Because in the realm of you seeing the cartoons, this would be great to go back to those classic TV show. And how, really, in my opinion, that show was kind of tragic for the character David Banner, Bruce Banner, played by Bill Bixby. But again, Greatest American Hero. It was from 1981. Check out the pilot on YouTube. Again, it's totally different, folks. Check it out. Rick, can you tell the fans where they can find you and follow you?
Well, if you want to follow us, if you're a wrestling fan, you can check us out over and let me say this. Well, if you guys are a wrestling fan, you can always find us over at HWR Show, Hardcore Wrestling Radio. If you want to join in the chat room, join in the conversation, head on over to Facebook in the group sections under HWR Chat Room. You can say what you want, how you want to say it, and we're always looking for passionate wrestling fans. Joe, over to you.
Thank you, Rick. And you can follow more of DK Retro on classic TV shows. We'll be discussing movie reviews. We will also be doing game reviews. Our next game coming up is, of course, Super Nintendo Super Castlevania 4. So we'll be doing that next. And again, you know, you can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com, Joseph Knight Manager. You can also follow us for DK Retro. You can follow us at facebook.com groups, DK Retro, Danger Knights Retro and Review. So check us out. Leave some comments. If you want to have any other ideas, if fans, you have any ideas regarding like what TV show, what classic TV show, or anything you want to discuss, leave us a comment and we'll get back to you. Rick, anything going on over in HWR?
Well, in the wrestling world right now, it's getting a little bit dry. We've been looking at some injuries that's going on in wrestling. We got WrestleMania 32 coming up. We got Roadblock coming up. So I think this next month or the next few weeks is going to be pretty busy. Hopefully, it's going to pick up.
That's great. Okay, fans, thank you for watching, and keep tuning in. We'll have more coming up.